Hey there, hope you're doing great. In this video, I'm gonna show you how I've used the post-process volume effect to get such results. And it was like adding flavors to my final shot. And I highly recommend you to use these settings of the post-process volume effect if you're going to have an asset rendering or prop rendering. But before we get to that, if you want to know how I created this studio lighting setup in Unreal Engine, all you need to do is to just mention it in the comment section. Alright, now I'm gonna hide the post-process volume effect from outliner section. And you can see the difference. I mean, it's a real mess, okay? It's far away from being realistic. But when I'm turning it on, you can see this hyper realistic render, okay? So what I'm going to do is let's just delete this post-process volume effect and let's add another one so you can better understand the process of getting the results of being hyper realistic. All right, the first step is to turn on the infinite extend option so it can affect whole scene. All right, the next parameter that we need to set is exposure. So let's just turn it on and let's change the method on manual and set exposure composition on 1 or 0 maybe. Let's turn this minimum EV 100s. But I'm sorry, let's just set it back to auto exposure. I did a mistake. And set these minimum and maximum EV 100s to 1, both of them. So we can better control our exposure. Okay? And that is one of the major and essential steps that we need to do. Just remain the exposure on auto exposure histogram, okay? Remain the method as it was. Alright, the next flavor that I'm going to add to my scene is bloom effect, and as I said in the previous video, if you want to add bloom effect, just set it on convolution because the result is going to be much more better. So let's just make it a little bit more intense and you can see the difference with and without bloom. Alright, the next flavor that I'm gonna add is Chromatic Aberration. And yeah, it's going to be little bits, but it helps my render to look more realistic. And I think zero point 0.2 is okay. Yeah, you can see that the difference isn't significant, but it makes the final render to look like it has taken with real camera, and I suggest you to use it in your renders. Okay, let's continue. The next effect that I'm going to add to this render is vignette. I always use this effect and I recommend you to use it, and I always set it on 0 0.6 because the result is super realistic. Okay, just look at the difference. Yeah. Okay, now let's jump to the other effect, and it is, let me see, yeah, global illumination. And I'm going to change it from lumen to standalone ray tracing, and boom, the result is going to be like awesome. Look at the difference, look at the reflections. Okay, it's just super realistic. And I'm going to increase these lighting quality and scene details to something like 4. Yeah, I think 4 is going to be okay. But notice that increasing these parameters may cause high pressure and high load on your GPU and your system because they're trying to increase the quality of the scene. Yeah, I think it's just okay, and we're getting much more close to what we want. Let's continue, and let me see the next parameter that I'm going to change is reflection, and let's just change it from lumen to ray tracing and look at the results in the reflection. Okay, it's just going to be like super. Yeah, I like that. I really like that. Look at these reflections of the rifle, and yeah, it's so pleasing. Okay, let's continue. The next parameter that I'm going to apply it is, let me see. No, it's not here. Yeah, it's here. The translucency. Okay, let's just enable it and change it from raster to ray tracing, and you can see the difference in the glass material of the scope, the sniper scope. It's obvious when I'm turn it on and off. And finally, we reach to film grain effect. I highly recommend you to use it in your renders because it adds a really cool effect to your renders. Let me turn it on and let's increase the intensity first. And you can see these noises in the background of our render, these dot noises, which is scattering. Let me just change the camera and you can see it better right now. It is obvious in the background, and I can control the texel size from this slider. So I'm going to increase it a little bit. Yeah, I think it is okay right now, but I want to control the intensity of the film grain effect in the highlighted areas and mid-tone areas. For example, this area in my shot is a mid-tone, or this one is also a mid-tone area, and I have a highlighted area over here. So I'm going to enable this film grain intensity highlight and mid-tones parameters. So let's just set them on 0 first. So I have no film grain effect in the highlighted and mid-tone areas of my shot. So let's just increase them carefully to add a little bit film grain to these areas. And yeah, I think it's going to be better. And again, I highly recommend you to use this film grain effect on your renders because it just makes them crazy and super cool. Let's just change the camera and you can see the difference. It's awesome, okay? I hope these tips was useful to you. Just use them in your post-process volume effects and make your renders crazy. If you have any question or opinion, leave it to the comment section and don't miss the other Unreal Engine videos on the channel. See you there.